Talk boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this, our weekend recap to what was the Mahfoud versus Lara Ochman fight over there in Mahfoud's native Denmark. The prediction stuck, and Mahfoud was able to win a dominant points decision.
That's what I was expecting.
Mahfoud, who lost the IBF title to none other than Amanda Serrano, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. And ahead of this fight, I stated quite plainly that even though Mahfoud was a bit gun-shy with Amanda, she won't be gun-shy with Lara Ochman.
Because Lara Ochman's no Amanda Serrano. She's not the puncher that Amanda is, not the knockout merchant.
So in this fight, unlike the previous one, we'd see a more spiteful Mahfoud, a Mahfoud that's more willing to step into her punches and bring punches over
than the one we saw the fight before opposite the ring, Amanda Serrano.
Mahfoud's not a bad fighter. She's balanced. She can fight coming forwards. She can fight going backwards. She can move lateral.
Shows good movement.
A good understanding of her range. Better understanding, I think, than Lara Ochman, who's a bit more raw, more rough around the edges.
Noticeably taller than Mahfoud.
She's raw. She doesn't yet know how to use those physical advantages that she has, her height and her reach. She doesn't yet know how to put those advantages to good use. Mahfoud is a more put together, a more complete fighter at least than Lara Ochman.
This fight was for a WBC silver title.
How to interpret that? That WBC silver title essentially brings whoever's holding it one step closer to facing this division's undisputed champion, which is Amanda Serrano. But it being that Sarah already fought Amanda and lost a lopsided decision to Amanda, I don't get the sense that Sarah...
I don't think she's gunning for a rematch.
I don't think that she wants to run it back, per se, but whilst being in possession of that title, what she can do is service as a gatekeeper for anyone who is interested in facing Amanda Serrano, at least by way of the WBC. They'll have to, at least in theory, go through Sarah first, and Sarah can make a pretty penny.
By way of the WBC, they'll have to, so long as she's holding on to that WBC silver title. For any fighter, any unbeaten up-and-comer that's looking to become Amanda's mandatory challenger,
they'll have to go through Sarah.
So long as she's holding that WBC silver title, sporting a professional record of 12 wins with 1 loss, just 1 loss, no draws, 3 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 13 professional contests.
Sarah's a good fighter, and ambitious one. 33 years old, still many good years left to give to the sport.
Only 1 loss to one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. Obviously, there's no shame in that. And she's in a densely populated, talent-rich division.
Good number of major promotional outfits with network deals on major platforms. They've got ponies in that featherweight show. Featherweight, that's 126 pounds.
BT Sports got Raven Chapman. Sky Sports and Boxer, they've got Karis Artingstall. Matchroom's got Sky Nicholson.
Vosserman's got Sophia Leash, who's going to be in action very soon in the United Kingdom opposite the ring veteran journeywoman Beck Connolly.
It's good that Sarah didn't wait too long to get back out there after having suffered that lopsided loss to Amanda Serrano. It's good that she's already had a fight and she's got the rest of the year to work with.
A solid resume for a fighter with just 13 professional fights. The win over Argentina's Brenda Carbajal, Germany's own Nina Menke, more recently the win over Lara Ochman.
Solid victories.
And tack on that she shared the ring with one of the biggest punchers the sport has ever seen and didn't get knocked out. She was at least able to go the distance. This all lends itself to Mahfoud's...
It helps to round her out as a fighter.
Yeah, maybe Amanda Serrano can win a lopsided decision opposite the ring of Mahfoud, but can a Karis Artingstall, can a Sophia Leash,
a Raven Chapman, a Sarah Liegman,
a Nazarena Romero?
You see what I mean?
When you have that many major promotional outfits that have major broadcast partners with ponies in that featherweight show, that creates opportunities for a fighter like Mahfoud.
As those major promotional outfits fighters climb their way up those ranks looking for a title shot, well, they're going to need to fight somebody solid.
And that's where the opportunities lie for a fighter like a Mahfoud, who will be more experienced than those fighters are, having shared the ring with better fighters than they have, better fighters so far.
So she's in possession of the WBC silver title.
Already managed to get a fight in the first quarter of this year. That leaves her with the second, third, and fourth quarters of this year to work with.
Get some more rounds in.
Won't be long before she gets a call from a Sky Sports and Boxer to see about fighting one of their fighters like Karis Artingstall or Ebony Jones. Those 2 unbeaten up-and-comers.
Yeah, they've got 2 prize stallions in that featherweight show.
Congratulations to Mahfoud for getting herself back in the winner's bracket, successfully rebounding off the loss to Amanda.
See what the rest of the year holds for the former IBF champion.
What happened with Andy Ruiz Jr. and Filip Hrgovic, Calla?
Well,
we negotiated. We made them a multi-million-dollar offer, and we're told we're going to get a counter offer. That a counter offer never came. Got to the day of the purse bids, and morning of the purse bid, we had our man in New York ready to go and put the bid in, and pulled out.
This thing with Andy and Filip that never materialized, it's an important story in some ways it is. Because, it depends. It all depends. It depends on whether or not Andy ends up fighting Deontay Wilder in his next fight, as opposed to Filip Hrgovic, who he was ordered to fight by the IBF. If he fights Wilder...
And remember, he was ordered to fight Wilder first by way of the WBC.
Before the IBF's order for him to fight Filip Hrgovic came down. If he fights Wilder, then...
I wouldn't call that a duck. It's just as dangerous, if not a more dangerous fight against a bigger puncher.
It'll probably be for more money than he stood to make opposite the ring Filip Hrgovic. Kel Sorlin said they offered Andy a multi-million-dollar purse.
I'm going to assume that the Wilder fight, if he ends up having it, will get him a multi-million-dollar purse, perhaps more money than he'd stand to make with Filip.
It all depends. It really does. It's all contingent upon whether or not Andy actually ends up fighting Deontay Wilder. Now, if he doesn't...
Then it's a bad move. Then it's bad business. Then you can say he swerved Filip Hrgovic.
Things are so immaterial with Deontay Wilder right now. Deontay, who very recently left the door open for a fourth Fury fight, a two-fight engagement with Francis Ngannou, perhaps a Joshua fight. There was some talks about that.
Supposed to be coming back in June, but we don't yet know who against.
Maybe it'll be Andy. Maybe it won't be Andy. But if it isn't, then that means that entire fiasco will have costed Andy Ruiz a multi-million-dollar purse for a Filip Hrgovic fight.
The Ruiz side of it withdrew from the IBF purse bid, you understand.
They pulled out, and because we don't yet know if Andy's going to be fighting Deontay in his next fight, that might have been a bad move. Andy Ruiz is currently ranked at number 3 by way of the IBF's rank standings, and what they normally do in this situation is they move on to the next highest ranked available contender. The next guy ranked behind Andy is Deontay Wilder, and I don't think Filip Hrgovic and Deontay Wilder are about to fight. The guy ranked behind Deontay is Anthony Joshua, but Anthony's spoken for. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin in April.
Ranked right behind Anthony Joshua is Martin Bakole, who's coming off that sensational win over Olympic gold medalist Tony Yoka.
He very recently signed a multi-fight deal with the people over there at Sky Sports and Boxer, and it's my understanding that he's supposed to be making his boxer debut very soon. In other words, he's spoken for. Ranked right behind Martin is Frankie Sanchez.
He's boring.
He is an undefeated fighter. He's got a solid win over Efe Ajagba, but...
He's boring.
Unbeaten guy, like Filip's an unbeaten guy, but...
He's boring.
He's also a PBC fighter, and I don't really know that the PBC are too keen on the idea of sending him over to the Kale and Nisei Sorlin side of things, the Wasserman side of things, to box Filip Hrgovic.
They're going to send him to DAZN.
By all rights, they should. It's not like they've got anything major planned for him over there at the PBC.
Though on the premise that they don't, ranked right behind Frankie Sanchez is Germany's own Agit Kabayel.
He actually fought yesterday opposite the ring, a grown Smokitsky.
He scored a third-round TKO stoppage, and because he's not really affiliated with any of the major promotional outfits and the major networks, maybe Filip ends up fighting him.
Maybe, and what would be a battle of the unbeatens if by some chance Agit Kabayel don't want no parts of that guy. Ranked right behind Agit Kabayel is Tony Yoka. The problem with Tony Yoka is that Tony's spoken for. He's supposed to be fighting Carlos Takam very soon.
Ranked right behind Tony Yoka is Dillian Whyte. I could see a fight between Filip Hrgovic and Dillian Whyte happening. They both box under the same banner on the same side of the street.
It's a mess. This will be approximately the third time that the IBF have had to comb through their own rank standings in order to find Filip Hrgovic a dance partner. Even here and now, even after he looked as human as he looked opposite the ring, Zhilei Zhang, he's still having trouble pinning down an opponent.
Even as the IBF's interim champion, a guy who's in the queue for a title shot very soon.
By way of the IBF, they're still struggling to get somebody in there with this guy. It's getting monotonous that even after Filip Hrgovic looked human and his bubble was burst, that he doesn't really seem like a boogeyman anymore. They're still struggling to get him fights.
Jesus.
And Andy, I don't know what the hell Andy Ruiz is going to do. If he don't fight Deontay Wilder in his very next fight, the best thing he can do is cross the street, change his decorum, and see what other money some other outfit has for him.
He better do something.
And finally, in men's super middleweight news, Up-and-coming Puerto Rican sensation Edgar Berlanga assesses Jaime Munguia, saying that he is a one-dimensional fighter.
That's rich coming from him.
I mean, I don't have all that high of an opinion of Jaime Munguia, but I have to say that as far as fighters go, he's a more complete fighter than Edgar is right now.
I'd say he is.
Edgar Berlanga has rightfully been viewed as a power puncher with 16 consecutive stoppage victories to start off his career, all of which came in the very first round. The New York native concludes that if he connects properly, that'll be all she wrote. But despite earning a reputation as a fierce puncher, the 25-year-old has found his recent level of opposition a bit more durable. During his last 4 outings, the 168-pound contender was forced to enlist the help of 3 judges sitting ringside. And while he would ultimately go on to box his way to lopsided decisions, Berlanga doesn't believe that he's unveiled his entire offensive arsenal. I didn't even really get to show all of my skills and who I truly am, said Berlanga.
Look, it's not a knock on Edgar, you understand, but when you go in there with 16 guys and you finish all 16 of them early...
When you knock them out early, you don't get to work on other things and other aspects of your boxing.
Those early knockouts can be a gift and a curse.
They can be because they may lend themselves to a fighter's overall marquee value.
Knockouts sell, and casuals, they love knockouts, so as long as you're knocking people out...
Yeah, people are going to want to see you. The problem is, as long as you're knocking people out, especially when you're knocking people out early, at this developmental stage in his career,
Arrested development.
and a false sense of confidence is sure to follow. It's not necessarily Edgar's fault, you understand, that he dispatched so many guys so early in their fights. I mean, he doesn't get paid by the hour after all. It's just that's
Causality.
cause and effect. If a young, unbeaten up-and-comer does that long enough, he's sure to develop a false sense of confidence. And one day, he's going to be in front of a guy that can take a hard shot.
We'll work around it.
That false sense of confidence, that false sense of security, that bubble, it gets burst.
And I think that's what happened to Edgar his last couple of fights.
After recently parting ways with Top Rank, Berlanga fielded offers from several promoters and ultimately signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing, having been out of the ring since scoring a unanimous decision victory over Romer Alexis Angulo on June 11th due to a suspension. Berlanga is hoping that the 2023 calendar will provide him with an opportunity to prove himself. Among a long list of names he would love to take on, Jaime Munguia protrudes near the top of Berlanga's list. The 25-year-old former titleist at 154 pounds has been constantly chastised for his opposition selection, although he spent the vast majority of his career vacillating between 154 and 160 pounds. The Mexican native did compete as high as 160 pounds
165.
against Jimmy Kelly in 2022. That's basically saying that a fight between Jaime and a fight with Edgar, it's not outside the realm of possibility. They do box on the same platform.
The zone.
Berlanga, by and large, is keeping a watchful eye on Munguia's next move. While he's managed to register a spotless record through 41 career fights, Berlanga admits that Berlanga's overall skills aren't overly impressive. Should Munguia take offense to Berlanga's criticism, the Puerto Rican product indicates that a showdown between them could ultimately be worked out.
And it should.
When news broke that Edgar had decided to go with Matchroom as opposed to Golden Boy, you know, a part of that news was that Edgar wants to work his way towards a Canelo Alvarez fight. Here and now, I don't think this guy's ready for Canelo.
No.
Not this year, perhaps not next year either.
No.
But a fight with Jaime.
That makes more sense.
And you've still got the Puerto Rico versus Mexico thing going on. That rivalry to help sell it, capitalize on it.
Berlanga versus Munguia makes more sense than Berlanga versus Alvarez, by and large.
I just feel like Munguia is a one-dimensional fighter. He comes forward, he doesn't move his head, he doesn't have great foot movement. A fighter like me who can punch, who can move around now, it's just different. He comes up to 168, we can definitely make something happen.
Do you think Munguia is one-dimensional?
I actually do. The disconnect, however, is that being one-dimensional automatically means you're a bad fighter, that you're not a good fighter, you know, because you're one-dimensional.
Being one-dimensional essentially means that you're limited.
You are a limited fighter of limited ability, but not no ability, not none at all, you understand. Jaime Munguia is a very dangerous fight for Edgar Berlanga because he's got a lot more rounds in the bank than Edgar Berlanga against the better caliber of opponent, better quality of competition compared to some other guys, perhaps not, but compared to Edgar?
He's fucking Eric Morales compared to Edgar.
That's what I mean. Jaime Munguia, being one-dimensional, dimensional with that one dimension is still a more maturated, fully developed fighter than Edgar is, with however many dimensions he thinks he has.
Yeah, Jaime's limited. He is one-dimensional.
And with that one dimension, he is still a more experienced, more developed fighter, more seasoned than Edgar is.
Edgar's not a finished product. He's a work in progress. Look at how many trainers he's gone through. Andre Rosier, Kay Karoma.
Subsequently, Juan De Leon. Edgar's got a lot, and I mean a lot of things that he needs to work on, because where he talks about Jaime not moving his head, he doesn't move his either.
He's just now starting to understand movement, lateral movement, trying to set up your punches.
Just now learning to understand being more than just a puncher, more than just a bruiser or brawler.
Not everybody's going to go down early, and not everybody's going to go down off the first hard shot that lands or the second one.
Edgar Berlanga is not here and now where Jaime is in his career. Don't forget that Jaime was once a WBO champion.
Yeah, maybe he is limited. Maybe he is one-dimensional, but that one dimension he's got is more developed than all your dimensions put together.
Jaime Munguia is a mid-range to inside pressure fighter. Steps into his jab, lets the fists fly, throws with bad intentions. You know what he is.
He's got a chin.
Do you know what he is?
Comes to bang.
Do you know what he is?
Got a good gas tank.
Do you know what he is?
You know what he wants.
Wants a war. And these other aspects, these other dimensions Edgar Berlanga claims to have, I don't think they're fully developed enough where he can beat a Jaime Munguia. Not here and now. Yeah, maybe you've got a big punch, but so does he.
I like that fight.
You know, it's kind of like when you hear guys call a fighter a B-level fighter.
Let's establish something here. There are very few A-level, A-plus level fighters out there. Most fighters, the good ones, some of the ones you see on TV, those are B-level fighters.
You could classify Jaime Munguia as a B-level fighter, but that doesn't mean he's a bad fighter.
Just means he's not an A-level.
If Jaime's a B-level fighter, what you then have to ask yourself is, what's Edgar Berlanga?
He's got some catching up to do with Jaime.
For the most part, in spite of being limited and one-dimensional, Jaime Munguia has been able to stay in character fight by fight, whereas Edgar, he hasn't.
Not in the Coceres fight, not in the Steve Rolls fight, not in the Romer Angulo fight.
What he needs to do is start showing some consistency.